Hey, what's up, everybody? We are back. Welcome, everybody. Welcome,
2026,
welcome
we
to
are
our
back.
podcast. 2026, January 2026 is here. The year 2026 is the year to have an encounter with God, and
Amen.
beyond that, to have expansion in every dream that we have. As you guys know, I am Barber Vic, known as D Element Barber, and with me
Is
is.
Joey, also known as Joey the Barber. Thank you guys for tuning in. We just want to thank all the listeners. We just expect the year of expansion 2026. Got a lot of great videos coming out this year and just want to give you guys a lot of gems. And still, always, feel free to ask us any questions or anything as we move forward in the podcast this year. And just to start off a little bit for this year, our topic that we were discussing is how to keep that fire throughout the rest of the year. And Vic, I don't know,
And
you want
that's
to
a,
go on to that?
that's a powerful title,
Yeah.
Joey. And one thing I want to ask you before we start, and I think a lot of people that are watching us, but before you do, make sure to subscribe. Hit that subscribe button, reshare this video at the end, and share it with the friends because I know it's gonna help them out. Every barber out there, and even people that maybe need to listen to this, topic that we're talking about. It's
Mhm.
really powerful. So you know what, Joey? I noticed something this year. I noticed something that a lot of people, when I was having dinner at my table with friends, I noticed something that everybody had a goal
Mm-hmm.
to go to the gym.
Yeah.
But you know what's had happened? That it was the same group that last year they said, I'm gonna go to the gym. They signed up, they got the best membership. But during February, the middle of February, it's like they stopped going, they kept paying the membership,
Mm.
and they didn't keep that consistency to continue. Well, can
Yeah.
you tell me something about that, man?
So consistency is a little hard, I said a lot of people, and like Victor was saying, in the New Year's they want to start off with all the fresh goals, fresh motivation, and the hardest thing for most people is to keep that consistency throughout the years, throughout the year. And I think a reason why is because sometimes could either be their goals aren't like purpose driven; they're more emotional. People are in the spirit of Christmas, New Year's, like, oh man, I'm gonna make a change, but they haven't. I always tell Victor, like, man, I want to start preparing for the next year, like in the month of November, December. Like, I want to get the ball rolling already before the new year hits. So when the new year does hit, you're already got things in motion. You got a plan already, and I feel the consistency is the problem when people don't have a plan. And I'm always a big advocate of this. If there's no plan and there's no written plan of how you're gonna lay out your year, then you're setting yourself up to just fall on your goals, fall on your motivation, and you're gonna go based off emotion. There might be days where you don't want to wake up and do chase after your goals. There might be days that you just you get inconsistent, you miss out, and then that turns into that snowballs, and that turns into something that people just midway, let's say March, April, May, June, they already have forgotten about their goals by the time that mid-year comes around. So I don't know, Vig, if you have any thing to add on to that.
Yes, adding on to that, and to every barber who's watching us out there, I know there's a lot of barbers, even to myself, when I was going to barber school, that I signed up, everything was cool, I got pumped up. I said, this year I'm gonna start going to barber school.
Mm-hmm.
But next thing you know, I saw how there was a lot of work to do and a lot of hours I had to put in, and I stopped going. And for
Yeah.
one day that I missed, it just threw me off. I stopped going and everything. So one thing they always said is staying consistent is for every barber out there. Make sure you keep continuing to follow that purpose that you're really going for. Have that purpose. That what are you doing it for? What do
Yeah.
you see yourself within the next 3 months, the next 6 months, within the next year, and that's what's gonna keep you going. Because honestly, I can say from my experience, that's what probably held me back going to barber school.
Amen.
And for one day, just a lacking, it just threw me off. And if you know that you're that type of person, maybe you can identify yourself with me. One of the best things is to keep accountability. If you know somebody, hey,
Yeah.
keep on accountable. Hey, bro, when you see me lagging, just call me out. Leave the pride aside, and I'm willing to, get better. Why? Because I want to be to a position where now I can grow. I can see myself, to reach other goals that are bigger than the ones
Amen.
you accomplish.
Yeah. And one thing I just want to add on to that is like going off of that, like what he's saying is a lot of the things that we deal with is motivation. So He said consistency is not always about motivation. It's about identity. You got to know what you want, be intentional. It's about having systems in place. Like you got to make sure that you, like I said, that plan has to be in place, and also by the grace of God. You know, sometimes, and that's what we got to understand, that we cannot accomplish our goals unless we have that grace of God. You know, we can't lead on our own understanding. We can't lead on our own. We can't force everything. Sometimes we just have to give it up to God and be like, God, bless this plan, bless me in the year, and as you continue throughout the year, you're hitting day by day, you're hitting daily activities. God's gonna start working with you. He's gonna start building the discipline, start building the motivation to just go into every aspect of your life, and it starts with you know. Knowing, like you said, being intentional. What's your identity? What are you trying to do for 2026? 2025 passed already. So you got to know, you got to start asking yourself, what is it that you're trying to accomplish in 2026, and what's your plan? Like what's the physical plan written down? Like what are you going to do daily to start working towards that? And big, I don't know what you want to add on.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there is no shortcuts when it comes to success. I mean, there's no other way around. I wish I can give you the blueprint and tell you that maybe you're going to become the most successful and busiest barber in 3 months. I wish I can give you
Yeah.
that blueprint, but it's never like that. It's like like we always repeat that phrase. You got to be intentional in everything that you do. Why? Why do you have to be intentional? Because everything that you're doing for it, make sure that you're aiming for something
Amen.
that is gonna bring fruits at this given time. And I had a lot of feedback, brother, on our podcast. And we always say, we're always, clear and raw with everybody.
Yeah.
But people ask me, hey, man, why do you add God so much in this podcast? Hey, why
Mhm.
is it too religious? No, you're misunderstanding the concept. It's not that we're not religious, because me and him are not religious at all.
Yeah.
But, one thing that we know that the blueprint is that first, we had to make sure that we're okay with God spiritually. Why? Because what's in here is gonna make me accomplish what's in my mind and conquer anything that I want. Because if the inside in here is empty, there is no way that I'm gonna be able to accomplish anything that I want and conquer anything. Because if that's not fixed, there's no way I'm gonna be able to continue throughout the whole year.
And that, yeah, kind of tell them that we got to redefine what consistency is.
Hmm.
And consistency is like most people think consistency is never missing a day. And that's not really true. Consistency is returning quickly, not being perfect. You got to
Mm.
understand that we are not perfect. There are days that we might miss. There's days where we're gonna fall. There's days that you might slip up. Now, how is it that you respond to it? Do you continue to mess up daily, or do you get up back and start working back towards your goal? And that's where that grace comes in. And we really understand grace through our faith. Like like you said, we talk big about God, and we bring principles into our lives that are biblical. And the reason we do that is because we understand the grace that God gives us. We understand that He accepts us when we fail, and He gives us that grace to come back and repent and literally and get back into what we're designed on our assignment. And you guys have to understand, you got to ask yourself, what's your assignment?
Mm.
Victor knows his assignment. I know my assignment. We're called to a certain mission. So when you're asking why is it I have God, it's because God gives me alignment. I have an
Mm.
assignment. So when something pops up, I know nothing can really deter me from my goals. I'm straight focused, straight locked in. There's no distractions. There's no influence outside voice. Like the circle is small. Our influence is very tight. I have my leaders. Shout out to Steven. I have my leaders, my pastor Jason, my spiritual father. Victor has his pastor. We have spiritual leaders that are on top of us, and they're guiding us. And that's why we involve God a lot, because God puts those people in place, and also like we're in our word, so our faith is being built up. All these things are adding on to each other. It's not just one thing, it's a multitude of things. And that's why we have a lot of consistency, because we know that we have accountability, not just by one person, but everyone around us. And that's how you start to build that fire. That's how you keep that fire.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
and one thing that you always said, and it's accountability. Why? Because it keeps me going. Like you said something so true at the beginning, and it said it doesn't matter how many times you fall. Basically, it's
Hmm.
how many times you get back up.
Yeah.
We have heard those phrases in many movies and everything, but putting it into practice is if you keep me accountable for what I want to do, and I keep you accountable. There's the thing where at the end of the day, we're gonna accomplish. Both of us are gonna win, both of us are going to grow
Yeah.
spiritually. both of us are gonna grow physically, and both of us are gonna think alike, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you keep accountable with your leaders. I have accountability with my pastors, my leaders that are helping me grow. I started doing that 2025, right? But I was a point that I was too prideful too, though. And I'm honest,
Yeah.
like, what is he gonna tell me? What does he have to show me?
Mm-hmm.
But once I started learning what really of a if a leader is keeping me accountable, that means that he wants the best for me, and I see the growth throughout the years, and that's what has led us to open us on a lot of opportunities.
Yeah.
That eventually we're gonna share the opportunities that are being open. But the one thing we learned, but we're gonna speak when we're actually, we've done it, we're doing it,
Providing the
and
fruits.
providing the fruits. Though
Yeah.
it's like actions with no fruits, it's like it's empty,
Yeah.
right? But if you have actions with a lot of fruits, dude, you're gonna accomplish. People are gonna get close to you. They're
Yeah.
gonna say, "Hey, what are you doing? What's that different thing that you're trying to take, or what is it that you're taking now?"
Yeah.
And everything revolves around to when it comes to looking for God.
Yeah, and the gods like a lot of, like I said, a lot of principles in the are there's systems in place already in the world, and I see how you maneuver, and these are just five practical pillars of consistency of you guys could use in your life is to just apply and just use and on all aspects. Is one, you got to build a system. Which, what does that mean? Building a system. It means building a routine. What's your routine daily? Do you just wake up and get going, or is it pre-planned the day before? Is it pre-planned the week before? See, these are things you got to start thinking about. Like when you're gonna start hitting a lot of goals, you got to understand that your capacity to be stretched out. And that's one thing that my leader always tells me is that when you go into a season where you're going to ask for more, you're going to be put in more responsibility. You got to understand your capacity, because sometimes people will take on too much. They get stretched out where they start adding 10 different things to their life. There's too many transitions going on that they don't have enough capacity to even handle it. And that's what you guys got to understand, that when you're going to handle more, what's your system? What's your routine like? If those that have kids and you're trying to start a business, okay, what time are you going to dedicate for your kids? What time are you going to dedicate for your spouse? What time are you going to dedicate for your work, for your business? There's only so many amount of hours in the day. You got to dedicate a certain amount of time,
And everything is intentional,
and
right
everything's
there. Yeah,
intentional.
that's true.
Consistency goes back to intentionality. If you know what you want, you're gonna be consistent with something. But if someone really doesn't know what they want, someone doesn't even have any plan, they're just, I'm gonna just go with the flow. And I'm pretty sure you guys have heard that. Oh, I'm just going with the flow. Well, that's the reason why you're
Mm-hmm.
not getting any goals, because you're
Yep.
going with the flow, and year by year, you're gonna pass and you're not achieving nothing. And one thing that I noticed for me and Vic is that this year it was a lot of consistency. We had a system. We're like, man, we're at the shop at this hour. We go to church. Like he goes to church his days. I go to church my day. I had a certain routine for the year, and I started to see things change when I was just being consistent. It wasn't mean I was perfect. No, it would just mean that I stood daily to the things that I assigned. I was assigned to do. I put it in my schedule. I wrote it down, and it was easy for me to hit something when I could see it daily. If I knew tomorrow I had to wake up and pray, I already had it written down. If I knew I had to go work out, I had it written down. If I knew I had this amount of clients in the shop, I already knew my schedule block. And I told Victor, this is my schedule. Don't this is what I'm. This is how I'm moving. If you want to put something in, or let's find a mutual ground where we can do stuff, the business wise. And that's how we started to be consistent. That's how we opened this barbershop, with just consistency. It wasn't a mirror. It wasn't like it wasn't some magic potion. No, it was literally just consistent daily over the year that we were just building slowly, and we were okay with that. That's one thing too. You gotta be okay with the patience part of it. I'm
Yeah.
very patient.
Yeah, definitely. Like, patience is the key to get something that's gonna last forever. That's all we say. Either you want to eat microwave food. I mean, it tastes good, but it's not
Yeah.
good for you. But if you want a real good steak, it's gonna take you time to prep it, and you know what goes on, right? And one thing that I like that I want to add more into what you said is basically what's the routine that you do, right? And that's one thing that I changed this 2026 after, speaking to my leaders, to my pastors, that have been a real, good role model, and it's helped me in my life so much, bro. That I used to be the person that wake up and the first thing I'll do, grab my phone and start looking into it. So my mind was already getting carried, right? But one thing he said, let's switch this up. What if you wake up, I open my eyes, and then I look at my wife next to me, and I look at the blessings that God has given me. I'm like, wow, thank you, Lord, for letting me, open my eyes another day. And now you start seeing life in a different perspective, and now you start living your life with a purpose. That's in my situation, like I start finding a purpose. Why am I waking up every single day? So now that's how I'm living my life now. Okay, you know what? Then my phone, I could check it out once I'm ready to go out of the house. I'm ready and everything. But first, like you said, find a space on how to live your life, and it's gonna make your life live a lot better.
Awesome. Yeah, and that's a very key thing, you know. Like I said, being grateful, like understand your situation where you're at, just being grateful, and like I said, going on to that, like the gratefulness is that allow you to start. Like I said, start smaller. You're gonna realize that where you started from. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but whenever we're at a certain position, we realize, man, like I came a lot, very
Yeah.
long way, and that goes up to the next topic, the next part of the pivot, the second one, which is start small, you know, and build on from there. Consistency, the thing that kind of throws people off is that people want to set a big goal. They want to set it so big where it's kind of unrealistic and not something that they could really reach. If you're going to start off, let's say you say you want to make $100,000. Well, have you made $1,000 a week? You know, like you want to, or have you made even $5,000 a week? Like you want to start learning how to start smaller, or it goes even something simpler as just working out. If you're not used to working out daily, probably working out 7 days a week is unrealistic for you.
Mm-hmm.
You want to start off small. It might seem boring, but that's the consistency part. Let's say you start out with 3 times a week. That 3 times a week is gonna build to 4 times a week. It's gonna build it to 5 times a week. When you start small and you're hitting those goals, you're gonna start to realize that you're able to build on that. You're gonna start building it slowly in all areas of your life, in your finances, in your fitness, in your health, with your family, spending time, and you're just dedicated 20 minutes a day with your family. No, now you're spending an hour with the family. Now you're incorporating prayer. You start 5 minutes praying. Now you're praying for 15 minutes, 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Like you start to build when you start small. And I
Yes.
think that's a concept that a lot of people, you know, they want to jump into things real quick. They just like, hey, I'm gonna go full blown, and then they get, and then they do the mistake of getting
Yeah.
burned out. There's such thing as burnout. Like if you start too fast, again, it goes back to the capacity. If you take on too much, and you're not really prepared for it, you're not stretched out, you're gonna burn out. You're gonna be halfway in the year, and you're gonna feel like, man, I'm tired. And when you get to that point where you're tired, that's a clear indication that you know you just didn't prepare right. And yeah, I think I don't really want to add
Yeah,
anything
no,
else.
and one thing that you said that is so true is that you gotta put yourself goals that you know you're gonna be able to reach. I mean, that's not bad to dream big, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, but be realistic to yourself too, though, because you know what happens is that we put high expectations that when we don't accomplish it, then we start losing hope,
Mhm.
and that's when we don't start believing and reaching goals. Why? Because we gotta be realistic too. I'm a type of guy that I'm not gonna work out 7 days a week because I'm not there yet. I'm not gonna tell you I'm gonna run 3 miles, 5 miles because I'm not there yet. But I could assure you that I could start with 2 days. I could run at least for 10, 15 minutes. And eventually it's gonna keep growing. It's kind of like the one that's addicted to anything. It starts with one, right? And next thing you know, they're all hooked into this thing.
Build a bad habit, you know?
Yeah,
And yeah, they build a bad habit, and it just spirals. As much as you can build bad habits, you can build good habits.
yeah,
You know, what's a good habit? It could be something as small as just praying. It could be something as wrong as good as just eating, changing the way you eat.
yeah.
It could even be something as small as when you wake up, you start stretching, you start doing a
Hmm.
little workout, and you know you move a little different. You do something that makes you happy in the morning to start your day off, rather than just jumping straight on your phone and you're jumping on Instagram and feeding some negativity or just starting your day off in a negative way. Like be very careful of what you put and your, like, you know, what you see, what you hear. Like you want to
Yeah.
start off your day right, you know. And
Yep.
that's another thing about and this, when you're gonna, what is it? When you're gonna be consistent, expect resistance. So always expect that something's gonna pop up. Situations are gonna pop up in your life. Like you're gonna be, man, I've been good. I've been going good at the gym for a whole month, and then one day you're gonna wake up and your body is sore. Your body is killing you. You don't feel like getting up. You don't feel like going to work out. Something happened, and you hurt yourself. And like, man, those are the moments where you really gotta lock in and those are the moments that are critical because you might fall in those situations. When you're feeling a certain type of burnout, you got to know that that's when you start to realize your identity. That's when you start to realize that your goals are motivation. You got to know your identity of who you are. Are you a person that's just doing a certain goal just to look good for people, or are you doing it for yourself? And one thing I can speak for us, like when we open up the shop, we're not trying to impress no one.
Yeah.
We're here daily because our mission, my mission is to build barbers, and the Victor's mission too is to build barbers. And he's on a mission with his church. I'm on a mission with my church. Like we're on a certain mission that I don't feel burned out, but I feel honored. I feel by the grace of God. I have energy every day.
Yeah.
To just keep moving, cutting my clients, building the shop, teaching the young barbers that we have coming. And by the grace of God, we have 3 barbers that are already in our program listening. Two of them signed up for school, got another one on the way. Like God is showing us that we don't need to be perfect as long as we take that first step of faith and we're just being consistent every day. Just showing up every day,
Yeah.
showing up daily, and slowly, God's elevating. God starts pouring His wisdom into us so we can share to the next people.
And it was the beauty of it that if you were to write down on paper everything that you're doing right now with the strength that God is giving you, if you would look at it, it'll seem so unrealistic. Like, how is it possible that I have time to do all this?
Yeah.
You get me? Because I always say this: when you have a life that you have a void that you never had filled it up with God, that's the only. So to me, that's the only thing that will fill up that void that I always had in my heart. He came in, he gave me joy, he gave me a whole different perspective, right?
Yeah.
But when you don't have any type of that, like any let's call it any God in you, you're gonna get drained out super quick.
Yeah.
It's gonna be something that you start something and probably by half of the week you're like, I don't want to continue with this. But what gives you that drive, like you said, is always having God in the middle, that consistency, and seeing everything that goes around as a privilege that God is using you as an instrument to be that blessing to other people.
Yeah, and that's what goes into the next one. Like that grace keeps consistent. When we understand our identity with God, we know that He gives us grace. And just to go, the powerful part of that is that sometimes, let's say when people fail, the shame kills their consistency. If someone fails, like if they don't know their identity,
Yeah.
they're gonna fall. They're like, man, I let God down. I let the people down around me. Like, man, I'm gonna just wait till next year. And that's the wrong mentality to take.
Hmm.
You gotta always know that that last part of grace is what keeps us going in the year. That's how you have the fire. If you guys want to know how to get your fire, get connected to God. It's not just being religious. It's just giving you that spirit that hey, when you're plugged into a system, you're plugged into
Is that relationship? Yeah.
you're plugged into that source, and He just guides you. And that brings practical things that you can use. Is having systems in your life. Are you waking up? Are you spending time with your family? Are you working out? And one thing that me and Victor always talk about, man, like there's 5 areas of the life that I always bring up to Victor as one of the things that my leaders at church talk to me about is first our fruits, which is our faith. Second is our family. Third is our finances. Fourth is our fitness. What's our health? Are we taking care of ourselves? Our body is a very important part. That's our temple. That's what gets us going. And also to our formation, like who are we letting us lead us? Who are we letting people guide us? How is our life set up? Do we have people that we're accountable? Do we have mentors? Just as we're mentoring barbers, we
We are
ourselves
getting
have
mentored.
mentors ourselves
Yeah.
because all this knowledge does not come from us. It
Hmm.
doesn't. I didn't come up with any of this. I plug into leaders. I plug into mentors. I plug into the Word of God. It gives us constant revelation. Like we read, we understand, and now God's showing us that hey, the information that you're being revealed, you can handle the information because your capacity is expanding. Now you got to share it to the next people, and that's what gives us motivation. That's what gives us the drive. That's how our goals are going to be met. When you have purpose, you know your identity. And yeah, Vic, I don't know if you want to add on to
I mean,
that.
I think it was self-explained, but honestly, I mean, there's no other way around. There's no other way around from what you said, and it's just following those, that structure that you said. It's like a tree. It goes
Yeah.
like that, and it's what's gonna make the foundation stronger.
Yeah. And one thing too, I always tell people, man, you don't need to be the best gifted. I'll be honest with you guys. I'm not the best barber. Victor will
Hmm.
tell you himself, he's
I'm
not
not
the
the
best
best
barber.
driver. No.
Now, by any imagine, I think there's barbers that are way better than me. But one thing that I know that the reason reason why God blesses me, blesses Victor, is because we're consistent. You know, that's one thing that, you know, I stay consistent in my routine in my everyday life, and I give thanks to God because He allows me to have just that consistency. I don't fall off, and I'm just very thankful that I'm allowed to even, you know, to do that because now those fruits are being shown by, you know, when I'm telling the new mentors, the new mentees, the students, hey, you got to do this every day. You gotta show up to the shop every day. You gotta promote. I can't tell them to do something that I'm not doing myself.
Yeah, you're leading with that example. Yep, and they see it. Yep.
And that's the consistency part. One of the big skills that I want to show them is that they're gonna start out small and they're gonna start building. Same thing with the clientele. Hey, you're gonna start with one client. You don't just magically start with 100 clients. No, it starts with one. That one turns into three. Three turns into nine. It starts building week by week, month by month, and that's the consistency that we want to show them. Are there gonna be days that there's no clients? Yeah,
Hmm.
realistically, there's gonna be days at the barbershop where there's no one. But there are also days that it's super booked.
Yeah.
There's days that, but once you start to build that consistency, every week the clientele starts to raise. And as we're in the new shop, we're starting to get more walk-ins. We're starting to get more clientele coming back. And we're seeing that God's providing. We're seeing that God's, you know, backing up those principles. Like, you know, the truth and all that is that we're consistent with the Word of God and we're consistent with applying it
Yeah,
daily.
and adding to that, bro. Honestly, like you said, being consistency is like for me. It's I'm always here. And recently, right now, a few minutes ago, I had a client that first time he ever came, and I asked him, "Hey, how did you hear about us? How did you like? You know what?" He was like, "I pass by here every day. It's the site that I go to work. This is the route that I take to work. But you know what it is? I always saw you here." So I knew that if I was gonna come today, you were gonna take care of me, and I did. You know what? He said, "I'm gonna go tell my family. I'm gonna bring my kids, and now I'm somebody that comes every 2 weeks."
Yeah.
So there you go, a new client unlocked.
Yeah. And that you know, that's pretty much like a very clear, very simple thing to keep you guys for this year, 2026, I just pray that everyone locks in the consistency part. Don't think that you need to stretch yourself out too much. Know your capacity. Know your identity in Christ and have a system. You know, with those three things that you're gonna start to see yourself really hit your goals. And this year was it's crazy. It was different because this year when I set my goals, I made sure that there were things that I knew that first there were God driven goals. Like there were things, you know, that I wanted to accomplish at my career with my faith. I wanted to increase it. But also too, I started incorporating things like with barbering. How can I help someone else? When I started doing that, you know, I started getting more like revelation. I started getting more ideas. Like, man, I can really mentor these many barbers, and or my income's increase this way, and those ideas start to flow, and I'm excited. Like I said, this year we got new things coming up, teaching workshops, students
Hmm.
coming in. We're in a year of expansion, so I told Victor, it's go time. You know,
Yeah,
we're on the go, and the way we're gonna accomplish all that is to be consistent with our daily habits.
and you know that a lot of people will identify with this too, though. When the opportunity comes, yes, we are nervous. Yes, we are afraid.
Mm-hmm.
But if the purpose is deliver onto you, is because you're capable to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you can see us be even we are nervous even making this podcast right now.
Yeah.
But if we know is we could be getting feedbacks from people, you know what, I heard the podcast, man, it really touched me. So that's our drive that continues us. That means that we're doing something right. It doesn't matter. Like if we would have been afraid, the Fade Lab would have never happened. The Fade Lab podcast would have never happened, and the other gigs that we're doing with the barbers that are starting, it would never happen. But it all started with consistency.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it for this podcast episode, guys. Like, you know, any questions, feel free to ask us. 2026 is a year of expansion for everyone.
Yes,
That was
sir.
the word that was given to me and my church. For Victor, it was you know more confirmation that he's building his mission with his church.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, anyone out there that's looking to grow this year, anyone out there that just need, or doesn't have to relate to barbering, but relate to just their faith, you want to have more of an intimate relationship with God. Again, we're not being religious. We're just sharing principles that work for us daily. And you know, whether you decide to reach out or not, that's up to you guys. You know, but we're applying these principles daily. We're seeing the fruits of it, and you know, we just want to share that with everyone. We want to share the blessing with everyone. You know, we just want you guys to feel the presence
Yeah, yeah. So, if you guys feel free to send us a DM on Instagram, we have also on Instagram, or messages through YouTube comments. We're glad to answer them. So feel free to to get close to us and ask us questions. We want to be that connection that will, if I can lend you that hand, I will do it to help you guys out. Same as Joey. So we're in that mission. So feel free to hit us up. Honestly, if you're a barber around the area of the area in Bell, LA, feel free to come. So there's gonna be a new things that we're working on, and Joey's or a new thing that he's working on with the church that I don't want to say it because I mean that I don't have the permission to say it, but it's something good that's gonna happen for those who are seeking spiritual foundation, to fix that inner spiritual. So be ready for new things that's gonna happen. So yeah, so I just I pray that you do great this 2026. Stay consistent. Get through the next year in December and said, what, I was able to accomplish at least 10 things out of 100 things that I put myself into, or out of the 50 or out of the 20, I was able to accomplish at least half of it. Amen to that. Thank you guys again for watching. Tune in 2026. We're gonna give you more depth again. 26, year expansion. Thank you guys for watching. We'll catch you guys on the next episode. Thank you guys. See ya.